Episode 26 God's Own Children. Tanya was in the first standard and loved to go to school every day, unlike so many of her classmates who still threw tantrums and entered the class crying loudly. There were games to be played in the school and such yummy snacks that their morning teacher would give to them. Aloo tikki, vegetable cutlets, cheese sandwiches, and sometimes even noodles. Wow. Tanya's best friend was Adit. They would always eat their tiffins together. There was, however, a tall girl in their class with slanted eyes who would stammer a lot and would sit all alone all the time. No one in the class spoke to her. In fact, in the game hour too, this tall girl would never play and just stand in one corner. But Maureen teacher, she would always speak to her so lovingly. One day, this girl was asked to sit on the first bench next to Tanya. Tanya to just didn't like it. Chhi, कैसी गंदी सी लगती है, thought Tanya. Today, Maureen teacher was reading a story of Ballu the giraffe. Tanya loved animals and was engrossed in Ballu's story. Suddenly, Maureen teacher called out her name. Tanya Sharma, help Ratna to find the textbook. For a moment, Tanya didn't understand who, as she didn't know the tall girl was called Ratna. What was she doing? Ratna's bag was on the desk and yet she didn't know which book to take out. Ajeeb hai. Tanya was so surprised. She rummaged into Ratna's bag and took out the book. The class got back to reading. But the teacher again stopped and called out to Tanya. Now Ratna didn't know which page to go to. Tanya Sharma, help Ratna find the page of Ballu's story. Tanya was now really irritated. She stood up and complained. Miss, देखो ना, इसकी आंखें टेढ़ी है ना, इसलिए इसको कुछ दिखता नहीं है. The whole class began to laugh loudly. But Maureen teacher did not like this behavior one bit. She stared at Tanya. Tanya Sharma, get up. Get up from there and come and stand here in the corner. Tanya was shocked. She spoke the truth, didn't she? Then why this punishment? Right now, Tanya Sharma. Tanya hurried across to the corner of the class where all the punished students would be made to stand. She glanced back angrily at the crooked, tall girl. Face towards the wall, shouted Miss Maureen. Tanya got scared and for the next 10 minutes did not take her eyes off the wall. Everyone in the class got scared too. After 10 minutes, the recess bell rang. The corridors of the school echoed with the joyous cries of children. Adit and all other classmates rushed out with tiffins in their hands. But once away from the eyes of Maureen teacher, they all began to shout in unison. Teddy, 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 Teddy. Ratna, the crooked, tall girl, just stood in one corner, tears filling up her eyes fast. Her lower lips trembled and she was about to cry, when Maureen teacher rushed to her and hugged her. She talked lovingly to Ratna and opened her tiffin box. Tanya saw all of this. She was supposed to be Maureen teacher's favorite student. But Maureen teacher didn't even look at Tanya. All because of this Tedhi, this gandi ladki. Tanya was so angry that she didn't even open her tiffin to eat anything. She had felt so insulted, you see. After the recess, Maureen teacher began teaching tables of 2 and 3. But Tanya just couldn't concentrate. She didn't realize that she was in fact feeling very hungry and hence was so uncomfortable. When Maureen teacher asked her what is 2 into 6, Tanya simply didn't know. Tanya, why are you not paying attention? We repeated the table of 2 thrice. How can you forget so soon? Scolded again? Sneha Pancholi turned around and sneered at Tanya and then spoke loudly. Teacher, 12. Tanya started crying. Sneha and Pranav Gupta both began to laugh. Maureen teacher quietened them. But by then, Tanya had begun to sob uncontrollably. Dada, Mama, Dadu and Dadi all remained upset throughout the day. Their little princess had remained hungry and had come home crying. All because of some crooked-eyed tall girl who appeared to be half mad and who didn't know anything or understand anything. Dada took Tanya for an ice cream, but she didn't cheer up and in fact refused to go to school the next day. The principal of Little Tots School, Mrs. Mishra, was quite surprised to see a large delegation of parents who had come unannounced. Abhinav Sharma was very angry and complained loudly. How can you make someone who is a slow learner sit along with our bright and smart kids? Do you know, Mrs. Mishra, Tanya knew the entire alphabet when she was just 3. And she could rattle off all the numbers from 1 to 50 in junior KG. And in the annual function, she won the first prize in poetry recitation. Don't ruin her learning process by making her sit with children like Ratna. Giving them admission is a compulsion for you, Mrs. Mishra, but not making them sit with our children. Mrs. Mishra, you should encourage the parents to send these children to special schools. I know you have to give them admission here, but then please make them sit separately, na? This was Mrs. Das. Do you know the English proverb? A man is known by the company he keeps. We don't want our children to keep such company, said Mr. Hassan. Abhinav Sharma again intervened. For such a girl, how could Miss Maureen scold my little one? She's just 7. What impression will the little kid take with her? Do you know she didn't eat the whole day yesterday? Lance Nayak Kailash Malik and his wife Sunita had found out that their daughter had Down's syndrome 4 months after her birth and hence would remain a slow learner throughout. The doctor had told them to give her as much love as possible, as that warmth alone would ensure that Ratna will adjust to people and surroundings. Though rattled, the parents tried their best to give total love to their youngest daughter. Miss Maureen George taught at the army school for 6 months when Mrs. Mehrotra went on maternity leave. Ratna became very attached to her teacher as she was extremely patient and loving. When Miss Maureen joined the Little Tots school, she took Ratna too with her. Kailash and Sunita found it very difficult to tackle Ratna because she simply refused to go to another school. Ratna became a little violent and threw massive tantrums for not being taken to her school and her favorite teacher, Miss Maureen. Ratna tore her books and smashed the school bag against the wall. The new school for special children was 11 kilometers away, and Ratna couldn't go there all by herself. The rickshaw fares were too much, so Sunita had to accompany Ratna to and fro each day. But the routine became so taxing that Ratna had to be withdrawn from the special school too. 10 years have gone by. Lance Naik Malik retired from service and now tills a small piece of land near Meerut. Sunita looks older than the 45 years old that she is. Ratna could never attend school beyond the first standard. She stays put in one corner and is avoided by everyone. She is not introduced to anyone or taken out to any place for fear that she may turn violent or become aggressive. The extended family look upon her as a burden. Both the parents worry for her day and night. And yet they pray every day that Ratna is called back by God Almighty before they themselves go back to their Maker. Tanya Sharma. Well, she is training to become a model and feature in ads of chocolates, biscuits, jewelry, garments, and so on. Ratna? No, she doesn't remember anyone called Ratna.